All righty.
How we doing? How we feeling? How we looking? How we doing? How we feeling? How we looking? How we feeling? How we doing? How we looking? But I'm not a rapper.
Buddy's not a rapper.
But I'm not a
What?
rapper.
What's up, guys? What's up? Hopefully, you guys can hear us well. Let us know in the chat. I can hear you. If someone's too loud, if someone's too low, let us know as well. College football week 2 is officially in the books, and we are going to break it down. Please be aware as well that we're going to answer questions for you guys at the end, but we kind of want people to be able to watch this back later and just be able to get caught up on all the college football that happened here in week 2. Obviously, we're going to talk about prospects for Dynasty in 2023. Also, we're going to talk about prospects in Dynasty for 2024 because a lot of these 2024 prospects are playing pretty well as well.
100%.
But let us know if you're here. Let us know if you're watching with us. Say what's up in the chat. And let's go ahead, Badake, and I guess let's just get straight to it.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start? Let's start with quarterbacks.
Yeah, quarterbacks. Wherever you want to go, that's where I'll be, brother. Quarterbacks.
All right, let's start with quarterbacks here in week 2. And let me get a sleeper tab open so this will recognize that we're on the internet here.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right. So let's talk about quarterbacks week 2. Again, we're going to recap all the positions. We're going to talk about these players, who's up, who's down. And then afterwards, we'll answer some of you guys' questions. CJ Stroud. I mean, what can we really say about CJ Stroud? I don't want to spend too much time. He looked incredible. I think he's probably still the quarterback 1 in this class. Didn't do anything to hurt his case. Didn't do anything to help his case. I mean, it was versus Arkansas State. Still has no Jackson Smith and Jigba. 4 touchdowns. Still not really doing much on the ground. He's not a very mobile quarterback as far as like rushing. That's not part of his game. But did anything change for you with CJ? Is he still your 101?
No, he's still my 101. The IQ, the way he was on the field, demanding it. You know, it feels like every snap, putting the ball in places where only his wide receivers can get it. Once again, 4 touchdowns, 351 yards. He is. I don't know if you saw the interview. I think you should really watch the interview. He was on the Pivot podcast and he was talking about. I guess just to kind of understand him more as a person. I think it's really good content. I think you should watch it. By the way, I didn't tell you that. Yep. It was CJ and Bijan on that podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, it was fantastic. I like everything that he did. I like him as a person now, knowing him a little bit more with that podcast. But yeah, he's still my 101, my 101 quarterback at least.
Yeah. I don't think in Dynasty leagues we can really say just yet if he's like truly the 101. There's a lot of good quarterbacks who have very interesting upsides, and obviously there's a lot of good positional players as well. Agreed. But as of right now, we both had CJ as our number 1 quarterback moving into the season. I think we can both still say that he is the number 1 quarterback. I think there are more tests coming up for him, obviously, in that Big Ten. All right, let's go on to Bryce Young. Again, the quarterback 2 consensus for us, right? We both had him as a quarterback 2 entering the year.
Correct.
Hey, this was an interesting game. Did you get to watch this Alabama-Texas game? Did you get to rewatch it?
Yeah, I did. It was definitely up and down. I think there was a lot of struggles on both sides of the ball at some points. But the way he came back, drove his team down the field. I thought it was great. It was good. It was a nice little drive there.
Yeah, I think he showed a lot of grit. I don't think he played poorly. I just think Texas's defense was actually really, really stout. I think they're still trying to figure out exactly who their wide receiver room is. Like, who are the guys that they're going to rely on there at Alabama? Say again.
Sorry. I mean, it's fantastic. Not fantastic. They are trying to figure out. Actually, I was going to skip to a guy.
Where are we going here?
I was going to skip to a guy, and then I realized we're only doing quarterbacks. Let's do quarterbacks. Bryce, okay. It's fantastic. And then we can talk about somebody else.
Okay, I was like, where exactly is this headed? Hey, one thing I do want to mention about Bryce, which we did not see last year, is what he can do on the ground. I mean, I think he had negative yards last year, if I'm not mistaken, because of, sacks and things like that. He's always been a mobile quarterback, but he's just never been a rushing quarterback or a guy who wants to extend plays with his legs. In these first 2 games, we have seen that be the case. 5 rushes for 100 and a touchdown versus Utah State. And then here in week 2, again, still rushing on the ground. And in fact, there was a Heisman moment for him in this game. He's Heisman favorite. Not to say that he will win the Heisman, but when they were down in that game versus Texas and that edge was coming towards him, or it might have been a linebacker, for him to duck and then rush with his legs in that pressure moment, to me, I mean, that showed, I mean, everything that you need to see for Bryce Young as to why he should be a top 5 pick here in the next class. It's not only the IQ, it's not only the incredible arm, it's also the athleticism, the mobility. Yes, he's undersized, but I think I feel more confident about Bryce Young as a prospect than I did, let's say, as like a Tua coming out, who might have been a little bit undersized from Alabama. Now, obviously, still a lot to prove for Bryce, but the IQ is incredible. I love the arm strength, and we're now starting to see some mobility, which maybe he's being forced to do that because he doesn't have a Jameson Williams here that he's identified just yet.
Agreed.
Where do you want to go next? Tyler Van Dyke. I know that you liked Tyler. How did you feel about his game here in week 2? It was in week 1, they just dominated, and he wasn't really necessary to the game plan, but he was quite efficient. But here we look in week 2, they did win the game, but I'm not going to say he struggled. 69% of his passes were completed, but did throw that interception. How did you feel about Tyler Van Dyke in week 2?
He's definitely getting a little bit more shaky. You know, I mean, you can see here he threw 29 times, completed only 20 of those times, 261 yards, and 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I wonder how he would look against a team that is ranked. You know, I wonder how he would look against a really good defense, because getting these wins versus these, I mean, I don't know how to say it, but like these really bad schools. I guess.
Let me tell you his schedule upcoming, because he is going to be tested a lot, which is good. Okay, so he faces Texas A&M. I believe that is this weekend. So that's a huge game for Tyler Van Dyke and this team. Texas A&M under Jimbo Fisher. Look, they've definitely underperformed, but Tyler is still going to be tested by a team with a bunch of 5- and 4-star recruits.
Exactly. And I think that's what we need from him. We need to see that right now, because it's just, once again, it's not amazing. It just feels very average versus a very bad team where Tyler Van Dyke should be hitting every single throw, you know, should be getting so many touchdowns, should be doing something spectacular, but doesn't necessarily feel like he's doing so much better. Like, he hasn't taken a step, in my opinion, so far.
The way I'm looking at it is I just don't think he's been necessary to do that just yet, which is going to be hard to evaluate. But I do think there are games upcoming where he will be necessary to carry this team. Florida State's a better team this year. North Carolina has a really good freshman quarterback. That's going to be an interesting battle. Then you face Clemson and Pittsburgh to end. So we're going to see a lot of tests for Tyler Van Dyke upcoming. 6'4", 225. He has the body frame. He has the athleticism to succeed in the NFL. So as of right now, are you moving him up, moving him down, or just kind of staying steady with where he is?
I'm definitely staying steady. Let's just see what's going to happen moving forward.
Yeah.
But at the moment, you know, if the draft was today, he would not be my QB3.
Okay. And I believe he was to start the offseason, right?
Yeah, he was my QB3. So at the moment, if the draft started today, I would definitely move him down just based off of the upside of other players currently.
Speaking of upside of other players and maybe who have not fully developed just yet, let's talk about Anthony Richardson and specifically his week 2 versus Will Levis. These guys faced off head-to-head. So I'm going to try and actually bring up their game logs. Back-to-back. Game log is not going to tell you everything. Honestly, I know Will Levis won this game, Badake. I don't think either of them played very well. Like, this is not a game that you want to put on tape for an NFL scout between Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. Let me know if I'm wrong, if I'm misreading this, but to me, this was not. I mean, Will Levis, 54% of his passes were completed. He had an interception. Anthony Richardson had 2 interceptions, under about 40% of his passes completed. Neither of them, both of these guys are mobile quarterbacks. Neither of them really displayed that all that much in this game. I mean, at times they had flashes, but to me, this was just a really bad game on film for both of these players.
Yeah, it was a more defensive game for both of these teams, but, you know, if I had to get the edge to somebody specifically for this game, I'm definitely giving it to Will. Anthony, you know, he had some amazing throws. Will's has some amazing throws as well. But I think the overall complete quarterback in this game specifically was Will. And once again, I agree. He's not the reason why they won. He's not the reason why they, you know, and Anthony Richardson, I don't think is the reason. Maybe he is the reason why they lost, but I don't believe Will Levis is the reason why they won. But at the same time, what I saw from Will Levis specifically, and like you said, in the video we did a breakdown of Will Levis in the off season. What we wanted to see from him was him not immediately running and saying, okay, it's not there. My first read's not there. I'm running.
Right.
Which we've seen a lot better. And now, one thing that you said, he was like, his pocket presence is not there, which I agree with you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, maybe that's something that he has to learn and develop, because he's not used to sitting in the pocket. He's not used to feeling those rushes on the edges. But I actually really like Will Levis in this game. He took some good strides, a good step forward. He looked like a leader. He was calm, especially when he was down at times, and then came back and it looked good. So I liked Will Levis this week specifically. Yeah. And then we can talk about Anthony Richardson.
I'm taking both of these games because, look, when I watched it, Will Levis, the things I needed him to improve on, I didn't see that improvement. And honestly, the same thing can be said for Anthony Richardson. So this is one of those games where maybe it's not so important what just happened, but how do these players bounce back? That's what I'm watching for this week. Anthony Richardson, terrible game after an incredible week one. Like, genuinely terrible game. Will Levis, terrible game after an okay week one. How do these players bounce back? How do they bounce back from that disappointment? I mean, Florida was the 12th ranked team in the country. A lot of pressure was on Anthony Richardson's shoulders. So I would like to see how these two players bounce back. Nathan says that Badake's audio could be better. I wonder what we can do there. But
okay,
we'll try and
check. Can you guys hear me? Am I too low or something?
Yeah, let us know if he's too high. If he's too low, let us know. Let's move on to Tanner McGee. Tanner McGee had a test of his own versus that USC team. Now, what can we take from Tanner McGee's game here versus USC?
It was a tough game. I mean, that's what I'm just listening to my audio on the stream. It's kind of scratchy. Okay, maybe I'm too close to my mic.
Yeah.
I'll just pull it back for now and I won't move it. But for me, Tanner McGee, he let me just mute myself on the other side because I'm listening. Okay, Tanner McGee, it just wasn't a good game. 2 interceptions and a touchdown. It was really tough against this this Trojans team here, and I believe he's going to struggle. And Tanner McGee is not a guy that's going to be a first round pick. He's going to be a second round pick. He is a game manager. He beats you with his IQ, but the problem is he needs the talent around him. He has nobody.
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
Is the problem is that he if he can go to another school. I mean, obviously the transfer stuff is irrelevant
he's not
now.
Gonna transfer now.
But if he went to another school or transferred to a better team, whatever the case may be, that had talent, or maybe Stanford brought some people in, then maybe there could be some opportunity. But you can't really do much with what you see, and the only games that you're probably going to see him really manage and do well in is probably going to be against some average teams that is not really going to raise his stock, unfortunately. I like Tanner McGee, but he may be like a day 3, maybe low end day 2 guy, depending on how he's performed.
Day 3 feels a little too far. I more see him as like a second round pick, a third round pick that people take a project on, because look, everything's there as far as like he's 6'6", he's 230. He's relatively athletic for his size. Very good IQ from what we saw when we were scouting him this offseason. But you're right, it's hard to say that he's really going to be able to drastically improve his stock with the lack of talent around him. Let me ask you, are there any other quarterbacks that you wanted to talk about? Obviously, in this game, who did he face? That was Caleb Williams. I see some people in the chat talking about Caleb Williams. So I guess we can also discuss Caleb Williams. He will not be in the 2023 draft class, guys, but he will be in the 2024 draft class. This game, again, the box score, it shows it as a much closer game than I think it really, really was. USC had this game in hand, and they looked really, really good. Travis Dye, the transfer, looked pretty decent, 7.5 yards on the ground. Jordan Addison, who we love.
Wow.
I mean, he looked really good.
Yeah, I mean, he looked really good. This was, once again, 200 IQ move. Going to USC with Caleb Williams, he looked fantastic. What more can I say? 7 for 174 yards, 72 yards and a touchdown, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's going to continue to do his thing this year. Yeah, the connection with Caleb Williams is so evident as well, and this is a very efficient offense right now. Do you think with it's hard to say this, and maybe it's too crazy to say this. The way Caleb Williams is performing with Jordan Addison, could he be the wide receiver one in this draft? Not based off talent, just based off of how everything is performing, how his quarterback play, everything. Could he be the wide receiver one?
Well, where was Garrett Wilson? He was the wide receiver 2 this year, right? I mean, you look at other players in this class, wide receiver wise, I think that there are better, like, raw talents than Jordan Addison. But as far as like what he can do as a route runner, he almost reminds me of like the Olaves and Wilsons of last year. So it is possible. But also, I think a lot of scouts are going to be well aware that Stanford is not a good team and that the Pac-12 is a very weak conference. So it's going to be hard to judge. I wonder who USC, like what sort of
schedule they have
coming up, because I would like to see both of these guys really tested. It looks like upcoming. I'm trying to see what their upcoming schedule is.
Coming up, they have in November. The only like ranked team that they have that they're going to be playing is Utah.
Yeah,
and then Notre Dame,
who is now unranked by the looks of it after their 2 losses. Wow, started 5th in the country in 2 weeks. They are unranked. Yeah, this Pac-12 is just really weak, especially defensively, man. There is not. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau, no one understood why he went to Oregon. Historically, Pac-12 is very bad defensively. It's going to be hard to judge. It really is going to be hard to judge, because what happens if you put Kayshon Boutte on this team? I mean, the stats look completely different. It's all about, do you have a quarterback that can get you the ball? But Caleb Williams looks incredible. He is clearly the first overall pick right now in the 2024 class.
Agreed.
That can change, though. I mean, that is definitely something that can change with time. I thought maybe we should bring up a name that we haven't talked about maybe enough, and that's KJ Jefferson. KJ Jefferson has a chance to come out this year. If you watch Treylon Burks' film going into the 2022 draft, KJ was the quarterback that led him. He's 6'3", 240, so he definitely has the size of an NFL quarterback. But with guys like Jalen Hurts succeeding in the NFL, help me out. Guys like Jalen Hurts. I'm trying to think. There's a couple other guys I had in my mind.
You mean quarterback-wise? Sorry,
yeah,
I was confused.
Exactly. Like, there's been a couple quarterbacks who maybe haven't been the best passers of the ball. KJ Jefferson, I don't think you can consider him like the best passer of the ball, but there have been teams, NFL teams and GMs, who have seen other teams be successful with a player who has this duality on the ground as well. And I think KJ very much finds himself in that category of like a Jalen Hurts, who, yeah, he might not be an incredible pass thrower, but what he can do for your team overall is going to be really, really intriguing. To me, I'm not surprised if KJ Jefferson ends up being a second-round pick here in the 2023 draft class, a player that teams are willing to take a shot on. I mean, he's going to be tested a lot in the SEC, and so far, he is passing with flying colors. I mean, as of right now, 36 of 47 on the year, over 76% of his passes completed, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Not very efficient on the ground, but if you actually watch the games, that's because he's scrambling. He's trying to make the most out of plays. 2 touchdowns on the ground. So I think KJ Jefferson's a name that we should really bring up and just have people well aware of. KJ Jefferson should be in this category. To be honest, I'm more intrigued about KJ Jefferson than I am Devin Leary, than I am Spencer Rattler, than I am DJ. I know it's a little bit too early. Some people don't want to give up on DJ just yet, but this is not a very hard team that he faced here in week 2, and he looked okay, but he just doesn't look like he's ready. He just looks quite rigid. So KJ's a name I just wanted to bring up. I think that we should have him on our radar here for this 2023 draft class, because he, to me, could be one of the risers here over the next year. Like, I don't see a scenario in which Devin Leary really rises all that much with his limits as a athlete. But KJ Jefferson's a name I think we should really be paying attention to.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely keep an eye on him moving forward. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I wonder if it would be smart of him to wait for 2024, with depending on what the class looks like there. But
depends on how high you can rise, right? I mean, at some point you're like, I don't want to risk injury.
Yeah.
But you're right, he could. But 2024 class is going to be good on its own as well. Hey, guys, if you're watching, we're going to answer some questions at the very end of this stream. So don't worry if we haven't gotten to your question. We will leave time at the very end to talk. Okay, any other quarterbacks that you want to talk about before we move on?
No, I think that's all. I mean, you kind of hit on Spencer, DJ, and not necessarily excited about any of these guys. I think we got the top 5 guys, I think.
Yeah, there's one name that just came to mind, and he's going to be out for a little while, but that was Quinn Ewers. I don't know if anyone, again, if you guys watched that Alabama game, Quinn Ewers looked really good. I mean, he looked really good against an Alabama defense that is pretty stout. I mean, Will Anderson, a lot of people think he could be the first overall pick in this year's draft. I mean, he looked good. He looked competent. He was getting the ball to Xavier Worthy, who I really like as well, their wide receiver. Devonta Smith type body build and athleticism. So Quinn Ewers, name to watch. Let's move on to the running backs. Obviously, Bijan Robinson will be the first running back drafted this year. I saw some people in the chat talking about how Bijan, he looked kind of bad versus Alabama. He flashed a little, but I have fonder memories maybe of Saquon at Penn State. I saw those comments, and I just wanted to ask how you felt about Bijan here in week 1, because I think like Miami's defense is just incredible, but what he was able to do in the air to me was like the ultimate equalizer, if you will.
Yeah. Look, what I saw, I liked. It wasn't the easiest game for these guys. I mean, both defenses I felt like played somewhat significantly decent. It was tough. And this you're gonna have some of these games, especially Bijan, whoever the case may be. It can be your top guy. It can be Bryce or CJ that may not have the best game, but I mean, it's one game. He didn't have the best game. I think he's still. I mean, if we put this in fantasy points, I mean, surely this somehow is like a top.
Yeah, the efficiency is, I think, what people are pointing at. They're looking at the 2.7 yards per carry, but that Alabama defensive line has always got 4 or 5 star guys, and right now you have the first overall player on their defense in Will Anderson as well. So I think that's important context to bring up, but.
Yeah, and I think we saw that, and we also saw how they were throwing the ball early and often to Xavier Worthy, and I think that was pretty significant in my opinion as well. So it's okay, and let's also remember that the quarterback got hurt, Quinn got hurt, and maybe game plan had to change, and they weren't really necessarily wanting to.
Both their quarterbacks got hurt, even the backup.
Yeah, they weren't trying to result in a like, all right, we're just gonna run the ball because they just make them one dimensional. They wanted to continue to. Like commit to the passing game. So
Bijan to me is still like in a world of no running backs going the first round. He's a first round running back. I really do think he is. I think he can transform an offense, especially if he gets behind a good offensive line. I mean, let's think about teams that need running backs, by the way. Where could Bijan fit here?
I mean, let me pull up my list.
I mean, I feel like the easy answer is Atlanta. Bijan to Atlanta.
There's so many teams. Really, like, I understand. Like, even we're looking at teams like big teams. Well, I mean, you see Buffalo, Miami, the Patriots. You can even see
Cardinals.
Yeah,
Texans.
The Cardinals, the Texans. I mean, if they want to move away from Derrick Henry, the Titans.
Yep.
Well, I thought they'd go Jags. The Raiders. They can move.
Yeah, Raiders is a good point.
If they want to move away from Zeke, the Cowboys, the Eagles. I mean, your command. Well, they just got beat. Brian Robinson. I don't know. I think I would still say your Commanders will go.
Yeah, Brian Robinson to me doesn't mean we'll pass on Bijan.
I mean, I mean, there's so many teams that can get a running back. It's just depending on where they want to draft him. And I think the team that's going to want to make the big splash is going to be able to get him. Like I doubt the Falcons going to be able to get Bijan unless they get 2 first-round picks hypothetically, because they're going to have to get a quarterback and then Bijan in the first. I think it's going to be some of the second half teams. Like, I won't be surprised if Tampa goes for Bijan.
Right.
All the quarterbacks off the board. Tom's retired. All right. Maybe they're like pick 20, 21. Bijan's there. You take Bijan. You take him to Tampa because, Lenny's is probably going to be walking soon. That's the type of thought process I'm seeing here. Maybe even the Rams. The Rams are there. They probably didn't make it to the Super Bowl. They just got off in the playoffs, and then Bijan.
Right, like late first round pick. Exactly. I mean, let's see. Do they have their first round pick? That's important. But I think they might have it by now, but I don't know actually. But yeah, Bijan, I still think he's a first round pick. I don't think he's getting out of the first round with his talent, his raw skill set. And let's see what happens. Let's talk about someone that we both love.
Boy,
we both I keep comparing him to Aaron Jones. What was your comp? Was it Kamara? I think it might have been.
Yeah, it was Kamara.
Whoever you want. I mean, this dude is insanely athletic, and much better game through the air. This is how we wanted to see Jahmyr Gibbs utilized in this Texas game. In the air is where he thrives. He reminds me of Aaron Jones completely, but this is a running back right now to me. My RB2 in the class, I think yours as well, yes, and feels like a locked in. Unless something goes drastically wrong, I think his draft stock could improve. But right now, I feel like he's a second round running back in the draft.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think at the moment as well, kind of feels like the RB2 in the draft, second round running back. Completely agree. I mean, 9 receptions, 74 yards, and a touchdown. And at one point when I remember when Bryce threw the touchdown, I was like, that's not Gibbs, you know, like I thought it looked like a wide receiver, genuinely. Yeah. I was like, who is that? Yeah. And then I was like, oh, it's Jahmyr, and and that's exactly what's going to happen. He is a threat in the air and on the ground, get in between the tackles. I think they didn't want it to result in running the ball too much. He did lead the team in touches on the ground, to be fair, but wasn't as efficient. But I'm really excited to see where Jahmyr can go, what he can do. And he is the kind of play style and running back, I think, that where the NFL is moving towards. You know,
yeah, agreed.
People are going to value him tremendously.
I feel like, you know, he could be one of those guys that actually ends up in a committee. You know, like, for example, Houston. Like, imagine you got Dameon Pierce, and then you have Jahmyr Gibbs. And Jahmyr Gibbs and Dameon Pierce, it might really piss some people off. But Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, you know, again, I really like him. Reminds you of Aaron Jones, reminds you of Alvin Kamara. We've seen all the different comps, but he had an incredible week. I would really encourage people to rewatch Jahmyr Gibbs at Texas, because this is how we want to see him utilized. If Alabama's not going to be a run-heavy team and they're going to focus on the pass more this year, and you know, historically they've been very like solidified in their run game. If they're not going to do that, then this is how Jahmyr Gibbs should be utilized. So, who's the next running back that you want to talk about after week 2?
I guess I'm just going down the line here of the matchups, and I guess the next best available guy is Travion Henderson. He may okay. Is he 2023? He is 2023.
No, he is 2024. But if you want to talk about him, we can. I wasn't prepared, but let's bring it up.
I mean, we can definitely go to somewhere else. I'm just going down the line on the game cast on the top. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm just going through the teams. Right. But we could talk about him to really quick.
Sure.
10 carries, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think he is really special. I don't know about you. I think right now kind of feels like the RB2 outside of you know, Braylon Allen in 2024. So I don't know how you feel, but I know you probably, it doesn't sound like you're too high on him at the moment.
No, I think he's, I guess, to me, it's not that I don't like Travion Henderson. I think he is probably a second-round pick in the 2024 draft class. But he doesn't excite me the way that other prospects do that we're talking about just yet. Like, I don't get excited about Travion the same way I get excited about Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. So, look, I mean, 2024 is still a long way away. Let's see. I'm definitely undervaluing him right now. He is 100% going to be a second-round pick. He has a chance to be a workhorse running back in the NFL, no doubt, and you guys should absolutely take note of him. Let's get back to the 2023 class. Zach Evans, I'm a little bit concerned, and the main reason I'm concerned is because I think maybe in this game it was because they were absolutely blowing out. What is it? Central Arkansas. Central Arkansas. They won 59-3. So it's really hard to say what exactly the usage was for both teams. But Quentin Judkins got a lot of work. In fact, he had 10 carries. Evans had 11 carries. So I'm really interested to see if this is going to be a split backfield, or if that is more just a product, if you will, of a game where they were just clearly winning and there was no reason to really play their starters all that much. But if you can see, they're going to have a lot of tests coming up. Kentucky, LSU, Auburn, Texas A&M, Alabama, Arkansas. I mean, we're going to see plenty of tests from Jackson Dart, from Zach Evans, and this Ole Miss team.
Yeah, and I think that is definitely my main concern. That's something that I definitely notice, you know, is the workload, what is happening. If he is the workhorse running back that a lot of people, because I'm not as high on Zach Evans as a community, if he is this workhorse guy, then he should be getting all the touches. He should be getting all the usage. But at the same time, I understand it's probably not they probably rest him. They were up really early. But if it does happen again in multiple times, especially in teams where it's like, why isn't he on the field? Then I'm going to be very, very concerned. Once again, not as high as a community as a lot of people believe in Zach Evans. So I'm still really hesitant. But I did move him up one spot last week. So let's see what's going to happen coming into this week.
I still love Zach Evans, still believe in him. I still think he's going to end up being a second-round pick. I don't think, like I mentioned, I don't think we can judge too much off of a 59-3 win.
Exactly.
But let's see. There's going to be a lot of tests along the way. Again, all these other games should be much more competitive. Tulsa's, they can be a good team at time. Vanderbilt's typically not a very good team, but outside of that, all these other games they should either get blown out and they'll need Zach Evans, or it will be close affairs. Let's go to your boy Sean Tucker. What stood out to you about Sean Tucker here in week 2 versus UConn?
The usage, 27 touches on the ground, super efficient. I mean,
4.1 isn't all that efficient, to be honest, in college.
12 yards and a touchdown. That feels really, really exciting to me. I like what he's doing. I think he is a workhorse. If there's a team out there that needs a running back that can be an every down back, Sean Tucker is the guy. Is he a first round pick? Is he a second round pick? I'm not sure. I think he's a second round pick personally, but I think there are so many jobs he could take. And I don't know if he will be taking jobs immediately. I feel like he can go to a team where like you have a Zeke and you sit for a year and then Sean Tucker comes in. Hypothetically, you have maybe, I don't know, I'm trying to think of Dalvin, depending on what his contract looking like, Derrick Henry, and then they kind of transition to kind of go back into their old way in the running back position. So I really like Sean Tucker. I mean, once again, I think what he did, maybe 4.1 yards per carry in college is not the best, but
no, it's not. UConn's not. They're a basketball school, so it's a little bit concerning. But I will say, look, like you're right. He did get the carries. He didn't look bad as well. Like in this game, he looked good. But you can't really judge Syracuse and UConn. These are both basketball teams, so it's really hard to judge their football programs. Their football programs are growing, definitely. But Sean Tucker, to me, he's in that tier 3 of running backs, and I've kind of started to solidify my tiers. We need to be very open, very fluid. Things can change very quickly. But right now, Bijan's in his own tier for me. Jameer is in his own tier for me in tier 2, and then tier 3 I have Zach Evans and Sean Tucker there, and maybe Tank Bigsby might move up there. Let's talk about Tank Bigsby. In week 1 when we did the recap, I said I don't know who this is. This is not the player I scouted. He looked incredible. Then against San Jose State, he didn't look bad, but it just reminded me more of the 2021 film. So I don't know exactly what to think about Tank Bigsby just yet. You see flashes, but at the moment, I don't think he's higher than, like, let's say a 3rd round pick in the 2023 draft class. Am I misreading that? Did I misread something from this game?
Excuse me. No. Look, I don't think he had the best game personally.
Not against the hardest competition either.
Yeah. So I think maybe it was an off game. Maybe it was a bad game. I don't know, but I think he's going to continue to be this guy. Yeah, he is a 3rd round pick. I think he's a guy that's going to be taking touches away from somebody on the goal line in the NFL. Right now, I think he is a more polished, a more better, potentially Dameon Pierce, more stronger, potentially Dameon Pierce. And I think we said this last week, if I'm not mistaken. But let's see how he continues to kind of go. But yeah, week 1, fantastic, 16 for 140 yards, 9.2, and then you go from 13 for 51 yards and 3.9 averaging on the ground. So doesn't look like the best, but hey, I think he's still a good guy. I like him.
Yeah. Let's see what's gonna happen. Zach Charbonnet, I mean, a decent outing last week. We have not seen UCLA since. Devin Akane and this Texas A&M team.
Devin A train.
Really struggling for some reason, Texas A&M to put some sort of competency on the field. But Devin Akane at 5'9", 185 pounds, maybe soaking wet. A lot of people like this player. Let's just quickly say it. Devin Akane, Blake Corum, Deuce Vaughn, all three guys that I personally have off my board. Now, you can say I'm wrong for doing that, but when it comes to Dynasty, we're specifically talking about Dynasty football. These are just players that I don't think fit a mold that I necessarily want to invest in. Maybe Blake Corum stands out from that tier as far as his physical abilities, his size, but Devin Akane, Deuce Vaughn, I just can't invest in these sort of players in Dynasty. Has anything changed for you with either of these players?
No, nothing has changed. Once again, I still really like Deuce and everything that he is doing and he has done. The size is still very concerning. But is there a scenario where he is, is there a scenario and in any way he could potentially be the third down guy?
Yeah, he could be a third down running back.
And I think there is, and I think if you can get Deuce in the fourth in rookies in the like, let's say 3-1.
He won't be a fourth round pick though. Let's be honest. I mean, think about where Rondale Moore went. That was like a second round pick. That's a problem, I think.
I just don't. I think.
Maybe he's a third. Let's say he's a third. You feel comfortable spending a third?
Yeah, I feel comfortable spending a third, and I don't think that he's not gonna be like. I think he will be like a fourth round pick just based off his size. A fourth round pick in the NFL draft, excuse me. So fourth round pick.
Okay, you're not talking about Dynasty. Okay.
No,
I don't think he'll be a fourth round pick.
So if you don't think if he'll be a fourth round pick, you think he'll be even later. Then I think draft capital then should continue to drop with that. But also it all depends on the team as well. I don't know. I think he's very small and shifty, which is crazy, and he's getting work 24 touches on the ground.
Yeah.
It's probably hard to get him down on the ground because he's so small, but still, like.
Obviously, Deuce Vaughn is a very different player to the running backs I'm going to name here, but these are running backs that I liked. I liked their film, like Tyler Beatty last year out of Mizzou. Before that, I liked Jarrett Patterson's tape. Very different players. Deuce Vaughn, like the speed, the twitchiness is different. I understand. But these are players that a lot of GMs are just not going to have on their board. And it's going to end up being, to me, Deuce, it doesn't matter what he can do. His size is going to make him like a 6th, 7th round pick, maybe undrafted. He won't be undrafted, but let's say like a 5th at best is what I see for Deuce. And that historically is just not something that we can rely on in Dynasty, and that's what concerns me is the profile. I think teams like GMs are just not going to have him very, very high on their board.
Yeah, I think it's very tough, and I said this once, and I'm pretty sure I heard it some sort of podcast. The best comparison they had for Deuce was Rex Burkhead and how he can be utilized in that backfield. If they can get him a workload or a usage like a Rex Burkhead, once again, very different. Burks is a little bit more heavier, it's a little bit taller, but the thought process of how he can be utilized like a Rex could be very interesting. But yeah, it's hard to see a pathway.
The actual best comp I've seen for him is actually Darren Sproles. Darren Sproles went to Kansas State. Darren Sproles, very similar size, very similar athleticism, twitchiness. Sproles was pretty good in fantasy, but that is like the exception to the rule. Do you know what I mean? It's not the rule, it's the exception to the rule. So
Sproles wasn't scared to put his head down and just be like, I'm bigger than you, Like, I know I'm small, but I'm bigger than you.
And that's how Deuce plays, but still at 5'6", 175, it's going to be hard in the NFL to really do too much. All right, any other running backs you wanted to talk about before we move on? I still love Braylon Allen. I still will sing his name from the mountaintops, but is there any other running back that you want to talk about?
No, I think that's about it so far. I think the field is really comfortable. I mean, let us know in the chat if there's anyone out there, but I feel comfortable where these top running backs are right now.
All right, moving on to the wide receivers. Kayshon Boutte. Is it Booty or is it Boutte? I mean, I think it's Boutte.
It's Booty. I'm calling him Booty.
You think it's Booty? I think it's Boutte.
I mean, literally every announcer is saying Booty. So, yeah. I mean, how can they be saying it wrong?
We said this last week, but this is going to be a storyline to follow all season. Boutte, probably the most talented wide receiver in this class, but he doesn't have a quarterback that can reliably get him the ball, that can reliably feed him the ball, and I just don't think that that's going to change. I don't think we see that changing. So can scouts get past the lack of production and see the talent? That's going to be the big question. But even he had one rushing attempt, went for 41 yards. I don't know if you saw that, but
Yeah.
really, really good rushing attempt from Kayshon Boutte. And that's just, I think they need to get more creative. They need to find more creative ways to get him involved in this game plan.
I completely agree, and I think if they do not find a way, then, and I said this before we went live, I was like, if they don't find a way to get him involved, he falls into the second. He's not going to be like a first-round pick. If he continues to have these games like this, it's still early, but if he continues to have these games like this, then I don't see how NFL scouts are going to say, okay, how can he produce for us? I think a lot of the conversation in the offseason coming up, is going to be like, okay, we're not going to be evaluating what he has done. We're going to be evaluating what he can do. And like in the route running, it's going to be the route running. How can he block now? Okay, well, he's a better blocker, and the route running is impressive, but the quarterback missed him. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of those conversations. But where's the NFL going to be drafting him? You know, what are teams going to be evaluating? Like you said, right now it feels like early second day 2 right now for me. It sounds crazy.
I think he's locked in as a first round pick.
Still.
I still don't think that he gets out of the first round. I mean, this is someone who, the production isn't there this year, but we've just seen through bad quarterback play consistently, we have seen him do something with almost nothing at his disposal.
Is there anyone out there that you can think of that was in a similar situation?
No, I can't, because typically, schools are able to provide you at least competent quarterback play. Like a school like LSU should have been able to give him competent quarterback play. Like I said earlier, you put Kayshon Boutte, say he transferred to USC. He's a top 10 pick in the draft. So I think someone is going to take him in the first round. And you have to keep in mind, running backs are falling out of the first round. Wide receivers are being smashed in the first round, consistently drafted, getting paid the most amount of money in the NFL. Do you know what I mean? Like those two trends are one's rising, one's falling. So I still have Kayshon locked in as my wide receiver 1 in the class. That could change. And I still think he'll be the first over. I still think he'll be a top 15 pick. But let's see. It is far, far too early to really say for sure what's going to happen there. But let's talk about some other wide receivers. Quentin Johnston, another, we talked about this last week. Another guy who very talented, but stuck in quarterback purgatory. That didn't change this week. Josh Downs had a pretty good week 1, comes back with this freshman quarterback. I'm sorry, they haven't actually played another game, but still had that pretty good week 1. Keep him on your radar. Raheem Jarrett out of Maryland, who is currently receiving targets from Tua Tagovailoa's brother. So
Tua tags,
that is something to keep in mind.
So interesting.
Not a very good week 2, but had a pretty good week 1, so that's also a name to monitor. How about Jermaine Burton? Came out and we thought, hey, maybe Jermaine Burton is going to be the wide receiver here that emerges out of Alabama, and then he puts up 2 catches for 10 yards. It was a good defense, so it's hard to judge, but I really don't know who is going to step up and be the guy in this room.
Yeah, I agree. No idea who's going to be. I think it's going to be yeah, I have no idea. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Which makes me excited for Jahmyr Gibbs at a minimum. Is there anyone else that you wanted to talk about? I mean, look, Jackson Smith-Njigba wasn't able to play. You guys let us know if there's someone that we are missing. Obviously, there's guys in the 2024 draft class that we're excited about. Emeka Egbuka, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, I think that's who I was going to turn to, because Emeka Egbuka, 4 for 118 and a touchdown. I mean, I really hope there is some sort of potential there for him next year. Obviously, quarterbacks in Ohio State kind of always turn out to be okay. But Emeka Egbuka,
5-star recruit.
He's going to be a guy,
number 1 in his class. He's probably going to be a top 15 pick.
He is going
when he
to
comes
be
out.
A guy, yeah. I think he is the guy for next year. This year specifically in Ohio State, no one really stands out. I mean, I feel like Martin Harrison Jr. can be a good addition to an NFL team. Not a standout player, not a standalone player, someone that can contribute.
Obviously, Jackson Smith-Njigba just hasn't been healthy, so hard to judge just yet with him. But I agree. why don't we look at the upcoming schedule and let's talk about some games that we think people should be on the lookout for. Obviously, Georgia, South Carolina. I mean, that feels like it's going to be a blowout there. But as we look, what's the game that you're looking forward to the most this week? I would say maybe BYU Oregon. How is BYU 12th? I watched that game. They played well, but Jaron Hall, maybe quarterback there, is someone that we need to be on the lookout for. Not a ton of matchups this week that you can get.
I guess Tyler Van Dyke, Texas A&M.
Okay, yeah. Miami, Texas A&M. That's probably the game of the week.
That's probably the game that I'm going to be looking for. I mean, Anthony Richardson playing USF, my alma mater. Didn't go to USF. That's a joke. Lived by there, though. Other than that, we're just gonna another week of just scouting. Nothing really crazy happening. What's this Sunday game? South Pitt. That's a pretty boring week, to be honest.
There's gonna be good games to keep track of, but yeah, it's.
I guess a lot of people to look forward to, like, you know, can Zach Evans bounce back? You know, can we see, you know, can Tyler Van Dyke really take on this Texas A&M defense, and how can he handle it? Like, can he really improve? Because if he does really bad here, there could be question marks moving forward.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure. Definitely his draft capital could change.
But yeah, I mean,
yeah. Why don't you guys in the chat let us know if there's any matchups in particular that you're looking forward to? I love that Arkansas is 10th with KJ Jefferson. That will be really interesting. But let us know, guys. What are some names that we are missing that we're not talking about? And we'll leave the floor here for about 5 minutes to answer any questions that you guys might have. James says, what is that haunting music? I don't know, but can you listen to the stream? Is something...
I'm trying to listen, but all I hear is you talking, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
1 second. 3, 2, 1, quiet.
Let us know if there's any questions, though, in the chat here. We might end the stream, but...
yeah, it doesn't sound like anything.
No? Nothing?
It just sounds like...
Tennessee's an interesting...
Like background, anyways.
Tennessee's an interesting team to follow as well. Their quarterback, Hendon Hooker, he's had a pretty good revival here as a senior. So let's see what he can do. If he can continue to put up these sort of numbers, he's definitely a name that we need to keep track of. And there in Tennessee, that's a good conference that they're playing in. So he's going to have plenty of opportunities to really face competition. But looks like he can definitely have his name rise. What about the two tight ends? Yep, let's catch up on the two tight ends. Michael Mayer, this Notre Dame team, man.
Yeah,
really not living up to expectations. I mean, he actually had a pretty good game, Michael Mayer did, as far as like his production. But look, I don't think he did anything to really raise his draft capital. Do you?
No, I don't think anything has changed, to be honest. I mean, he's still up there. He's still the same guy. Yeah, nothing really changed, to be completely honest.
Yeah,
I think that's why we necessarily didn't hit on the tight, like we didn't talk about the tight ends, because I don't think there was a big
nothing really
shift.
stood out, I don't think. Hey,
yeah, it wasn't a big shift. I mean, it sucks for Notre Dame to keep losing, and they have to really bounce back here. But other than that, I mean, Michael did his thing. 13 for 100. Well, that's the season stats so far. I mean, so far, 13
8 for 103 and a tutty. So he was good. I can't believe they lost to Marshall, but I mean, he still seems to be the first tight end off the board. Let's see what can happen though. Jason says, should I look to package second round picks for a first? I mean, yeah, 100%. If you can package seconds for first, you always want to do that. It's about quality, not quantity. Even though this is a very good draft class, it is always about quality, not quantity. James N says, give us a top 10 in order of draft rankings for non-Superflex and Superflex rookie drafts in 2023. I don't know if we can really give that just yet. Gosh. It is so early. Top 10 in order of draft rankings for non-Superflex. Okay, let's try. Non-Superflex, I would say Bijan's 1.
Yeah, I think.
I would say probably we're going to see Jackson Smith and Jigba 2 at some point, but maybe Jahmyr Gibbs I would say 2 because of the running back scarcity.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Bijan, Jahmyr, and Jigba, Addison.
I would put Kayshawn in that category as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say Addison, Boutte. Those are my top. Those are the 5 right now. That's all I can really give you. I can't really. And then maybe you can go however way you want it with the running backs. Maybe there's,
Here's what I'll say. We do plan on doing a 2023 rookie draft, mock draft. Maybe if you guys want us to, we can do that next week for you. Would you guys want us to do a 2023 rookie draft next week on this live stream? Because we'd be more than happy to do that. We'll sit down, we'll prepare for it. We'll really, again, it's not going to be solid because so much can change, but we'd be able to give you a better answer there next week. Let us know if that's something that you would enjoy. But shout out to the 16 people still watching the stream. If you can do us a huge favor, drop a like. We are going to keep giving you content on college football, on the Dynasty landscape, on the 2023 and 2024 draft class. Hope that you enjoyed it. Been live for about an hour now. We'll leave a couple more minutes for any questions, but we will end the stream here soon if there are no questions.
Yeah.
As I'm gonna go ahead and take a seat.
Yeah, just move the desk down. Just let it go down. Get some wheels.
Just take a seat.
Get some wheels. Have a couple squat.
JT says yes, please. I'm assuming that's to the 2023 draft class, the rookie draft. Excuse me. Nathan says thanks, fellas. Of course, glad that we were able to hopefully bring in some names that maybe you knew already or you didn't know. I will say the wide receivers. Hey, if I leave you guys with any more nuggets, it's NFL mock draft database. This is really the best way to keep your thumb on where currently the landscape is, right? It's not a full science. It's not completely going to be accurate for every single player in every single position, but this is kind of a combination of all. I think there's like 100 or so sources that do mock drafts, and this is a combination of them. And right now, this is what we can see is the consensus amongst those
who they have analysts. The Giants taken so far?
The Giants, they don't have taking anyone at quarterback because Daniel Jones is the answer. Amen.
Amen, baby. I mean, no, Saquon is the answer. Give me the say.
This obviously changes. This will keep changing each week. But yeah, Bijan Robinson they have going as the 13th overall player.
To where?
I think they have him. Well, some like when they say projections, that's just the latest projection from an analyst. There's a lot of projections out there. So, but right now it says 13th overall to the Falcons, which could be interesting. Will Levis to the Colts. Which that could be interesting as well. Quentin Johnson, they still have a first round pick. Again, like these wide receivers are currency in the NFL. And Quentin Johnson and Kayshon Boutte find themselves in positions where they can't really showcase their abilities. But as of right now, I mean, a lot can change. But as of right now, they're still being prioritized in that first round. Yeah, but it's not. I don't think there's going to be as many first round wide receivers as there was last year. For sure.
I think so too. I think there's really just 3, unless Kayshon and Jigba Addison, if Kayshon stays up. Other than that, I think it's all running backs, quarterbacks, and defensives people. Wide receivers, I feel like, are a little bit short. Same thing with running backs. I feel like there's only 4 running backs that I truly really like, and then it kind of falls off.
I guess my tiers are, Bijan's in my tier 1. Jameer is on his own in my tier 2, and then tier 3 I have Zach Evans, Sean Tucker. So I guess that is 4 that I really love. Yeah. That is about 4 that I love. But there are other running backs that I'm very intrigued by. Kenny McIntosh, Zach Charbonnet, I guess Blake Corum to an extent. Tank Bigsby, let's see what he can do. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. James says, who do you think will be someone who raises and lowers their stock before the season ends? A name that I brought up that I just think should be on our radar is a KJ Jefferson out of Arkansas. He and Jalen Hurts are not the same player, but I think the way that they can win for a team is a little bit similar. So if we see Jalen Hurts continue to be successful, and if KJ keeps performing really well, then we could see his stock rise. I mean, he's not going to be a first-round pick, but maybe he ends up putting himself around where the Tanner McGee is, the Tyler Van Dykes in that second round. I think that's possible, which is where Jalen Hurts also went.
Yeah,
is there anyone that stands out to you?
Very, very interesting. I mean, now there's no one on the top of my head. I know a lot of people are talking about running back out of Stanford. Smith, EJ Smith, or EJ Smith or something like that. I haven't really seen much of him. I'm not sure if he's in 2023 or 2024.
Yeah, EJ Smith.
But I've just been seeing him a lot in the Twitter sphere, and haven't really looked into it. So, but apparently he did pretty decent apparently in week 2. So I guess keep an eye on him, another running back, a guy that can just contribute somehow in a way to a team.
I would say in that running back class as well, Kenny McIntosh comes to mind for me, as well as someone who might be on the rise. But wide receivers, it's hard to see a ton changing. Obviously, someone's going to come out of the woodworks. It's impossible to say who that's going to be.
I think Jermaine can still raise his. I mean,
sure.
Going to the Giants, I think he can definitely raise his stock a little bit more.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think it's pretty good.
I love how they have Josh Downs going to the Patriots, who just drafted Tyquan Thornton. That wouldn't really make too much sense, would it? Cedric Tillman, we don't know too much about Cedric. We have not scouted him, so we don't want to pretend like we know him just yet. But let's see who Cedric is as far as a prospect. Cedric Tillman. Let's have a look at Cedric Tillman, 24/7 Sports. He looks like he was a 3-star recruit. He's originally from Las Vegas, Nevada. So 3-star recruit doesn't mean that he's not going to be relevant, but let's see what he's doing so far at Tennessee. Again, we haven't watched any of his film, so it's hard for us really to say who he is as a player, but he's a senior. 6'3", 215. Put up a pretty good stat line last game versus Pittsburgh. That's probably how his stock is rising, because that was a nationally televised game.
Yeah.
9 for 162, 1 touchdown. I talked about his quarterback, Hendon Hooker, who could be on the rise. And obviously it looks like Cedric is his go-to there in that offense. EJ Smith is Emmett's son. Okay, there you go. The more you know.
Good bloodline there for EJ Smith. So you're at the top there.
Pats need as many wide receivers as they can get. No, I agree, Drusiv. I just feel like they should choose a different wide receiver than Josh Downs. What about someone you think their draft stock will fall? That's a good question. That's a little bit harder to predict, I would say, but
yeah, I think there's 2 people that come to mind just based off what's happening right now, and I think number 1 is Tyler Van Dyke. If he can't pick it up, draft stock will fall. And then number 2 is Kayshon Boutte. It's unfortunate, but I think that's how I'm feeling just right now out of the 2 weeks. You know, can he really pick it up? Can this offense pick it up? I mean, look, projection number 8 right now. I mean, this is stock full at all if he doesn't improve, surely. But maybe he's not a top 10 pick according to consensus, like this big board right now. But maybe in the second half of the season, does he drop to 20? Does he drop to 25 area? So it'll probably be in the same round, but just drop to the second half of that round potentially.
Time will tell. Time is always the big teller of all of these things. But I still believe in Kayshon. I get the concern. Bill got too comfortable with pedestrian skill players. He doesn't have Brady to bail him out. Yeah, they definitely need to build and prioritize skill players. You're not wrong there. I hope they get like an Addison or a Njigba, or actually I don't want those players going to New England. Not a New England fan. Anyway,
I want one of them to go to the Bears with Justin.
I know. I mean, I feel actually really happy with Washington's wide receiver room right now. With Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, and Terry McLaurin. Not that we don't need one of these players, but I don't know. I don't feel like we do.
Well, I said to Justin. Did I say Washington? I don't know. Maybe you heard it, or I don't know. No. I was just speaking about my team that I like. Okay, I was like, wait. What?
Is that okay?
I thought you were like commenting on like my comment.
No, your comment is validated, and I can understand it. Anyway, huge love, guys. We're gonna go and get some lunch here. It's about midday. We do like the Arby's as well. Appreciate you, James. Thanks for hanging out. I hope these kind of streams are fun. I hope you enjoy them. We'll try and do a 2023 rookie draft next week for you guys. At minimum, a first round for Dynasty. So, huge love. Drop a like on your way out. We'll see you guys soon.
Huge love.